So, as you know, the King of the Ring tournament is approaching. The Queen of the Ring tournament is approaching. It's that time of year. So, episode 299 of Break It Down with Brian H. I decided I was going to go back, look at all the kings and queens, and y'all know I did this for the WrestleMania, so it's time for another tier list maker. Shout out to this though. This is the best of the King of the Ring. I had this DVD. I had lost a couple because it was a 3 disc. I lost a couple of copies, and I said, you know what? Let me buy another one. Never opened it because I actually found another one. Now Peacock Network, but it's still like fresh in the pack. But I'm not going to talk about the undercard matches. We're simply going to decide where the kings and queens rank on the list. Coming up on this episode, I'll break it down with Brian H. Keeping it 100.
No, baby, that's for somebody else. We're just gonna keep you right where you at right now.
It doesn't matter what you think.
The Wrestling Realm presents Break It Down with Brian H.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this episode of Break It Down with Brian H. I'm your host, Brian H. Waters. This show brought to you by The Wrestling Realm. Make sure, if you haven't done so, y'all know the deal. Go to SeatGeek. Save simply $20 on seats, $50 or more by using the code Wrestling Realm. Promise you it will all be worth it. Now, folks, it's King of the Ring season. It's Queen of the Ring season. So we're going to go through all the years, all the kings and the two queens, because they're going on this list too. And we're going to rank, where do they belong? Are they a game changer? Were they great? Before my time, acceptable? Or was it a waste? So let's get started. If you look at 1985, that's where it all began. Don Morocco was the first. Obviously, he's going to go in before my time. I was born in 86. So that's where he goes. Same with King Harley Race. This is July 14th, 1986. I was born August 7th. So, I don't want to classify those because, like I said, before my time. Now, I was born, but I'm smart enough to know how brilliant this move was. Because in 1987, Randy Savage became Macho King. So for that alone, it has to be considered great because they got merchandise, they got another brand to them. So I'm gonna put it great. I'm not going to necessarily call it a game changer, and I'll explain what I mean by game changers. Now Ted DiBiase, 1988, he defeated Macho Man. So this was October 16th, 1988, in Providence, Rhode Island. I'm going to say this was great because DiBiase is showing himself as a main eventer. But this is also before my time. Tito Santana, 1989. I'm gonna drop back. I know I ranked DiBiase as Savage. I'm gonna say this before my time because Tito was Tito, and I don't want to say it was a waste because I don't remember it, but I don't know what else came about it to deem it acceptable, great, or game changer. Now Bret Hart will win it twice, 1991 and then 1993. Now, when you look at this, 91, it was September. He's the Intercontinental Champion. He won the title he won the championship in what was that? At SummerSlam. I'm going to consider Bret Hart a game changer, and here's why. Because bringing this as the tournament, like I said, where you can have these DVDs where it makes sense. He didn't want to win the King of the Ring. He wanted to still be WWE champion. But it's like the NBA play-in tournament. It had to make sense. and it had to be with somebody who was a superstar in order to kick this thing off to the level that it would become. So, Bret the Hitman Hart, he's the first game changer. Now we go 1994, right here in Baltimore, Maryland, which tomorrow, or I should say today, as we watching this, June 19th. Happy Juneteenth. But tomorrow, today is the anniversary, the 31-year anniversary of Owen Hart. Now, Owen Hart did not win a world championship, but Owen Hart made the King of the Ring the most important thing. This put him in the main event. Obviously, Bret was the champion. This unofficially put him in the main event for SummerSlam. Well, it wasn't the close of the show. I know it was Undertaker versus Undertaker, but this allowed him to be in the championship picture, and this made Owen Hart stand on his own. He got it done by winning this. The next one, I think we got our first waste, folks. And I really hate for it to be this guy. But, and you know what? I'm not going to say Mabel was a waste. I'm going to say Mabel was acceptable. And here's why. Because when you really think about it, he stayed in the main event picture and worked with the top guys for the rest of the year. King Mabel was the number one heel. He went to SummerSlam. Yeah, he fell short to Diesel. He claimed there was talks about putting the championship on him. If Mabel, as they always say, Mabel was the third man. If Mabel would have been the third man, it would have made sense. But I'm going to give it to him. I'm going to say he was a game changer because, you know, like I said, I mean, he was acceptable. I'm going to say Mabel was acceptable because of the fact that when you really think about how long he stayed in a main event picture, how long we believe, okay, maybe Mabel can become a world champion at that time, it made sense. So now we go to the greatest King of the Ring winner of them all, 1996, the game changer of all game changers, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Austin 316 was born on this night. And that is why this right here is our first game changer. Because when you really think about everything that Stone Cold Steve Austin would become, it all started right here from the t-shirts. And months later, not the next night, but months later, the Austin 316 shirts became the hottest selling shirts. But it all began right here. Now, our next one I'm going to say was great. Not a game changer. Did it put him in, singles competition and to a new level? Yes. Did this make up for what he was supposed to win it the year before? But we all know he got in trouble. Did it make up for it? Maybe not. Maybe it would have been a game changer, but maybe also if Hunter Hearst Helmsley wins it the year before, we don't get what we got. So I'm going to just say this was a great one. 1998. When you look at this guy, this is our real first waste. That's Ken Shamrock. Now, the reason why I have to say Ken Shamrock is a waste in the King of the Ring for so many reasons. He never really broke through that glass ceiling. I know the main event situation was crowded, but also with Ken Shamrock, there was no crown, there was no scepter, it was no Shabazz, and we never talk about it. When you think about the 98 King of the Ring, we think about one thing, and that was Mick Foley falling off the cell, the Hell in the Cell match between Taker and Mankind. And then we might talk about Kane's first WWE Championship winning in a first blood match. So, yes, that one is our first waste. Then we go to 99. Badass Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn could have been great, but maybe say politics pushed his stardom. It prevented him from being what he could have been. So it's acceptable. He was in a prominent match with The Rock, but then the next night, The Rock buried him on the microphone when he said, "I go from this to facing badass Billy Gunn." Yeah, it was fun to watch, but he just never could break through. And there's rumors that Stone Cold said, "Look, Billy Gunn's not the guy." Now we go to 2000, and it's great. It was Kurt Angle. This led us to this was Kurt Angle racking up accolades, right? Intercontinental champion, European champion. Sure, he lost both of them at he lost both of them at WrestleMania without even being pinned. But then he stayed in, some high profile matches. And this right here will propel him to the main event at SummerSlam. He fell short to The Rock and Triple H, or The Rock. And then obviously No Mercy, he won. But this made Kurt Angle's rookie season the best rookie season we had ever seen in professional wrestling, bar none. But the King of the Ring was very, very prominent. I'm not going to call it a game changer because Kurt had already been there. This was just another token. He would have, to me, still would have gotten where he got without the King of the Ring. And the show would have been still the show. Well, the next one was a waste. And I'm going to say Edge. And the reason why I say this, because even though Edge was breaking out as a single star, he would win an Intercontinental Championship. We don't talk about it. We don't remember the 2001 King of the Ring. Maybe this trophy led to him, and Christian walked around with the cup, which is another thing. It's like, what are we doing here? Christian walked around with it, but it just wasn't the same. So definitely calling this one a waste. So we go to we 2001, 2002, Brock Lesnar. I'm going to say Brock Lesnar winning King of the Ring was acceptable. And the reason why it was acceptable is because it was acceptable that he won this for y'all to give us a reason for him to be in the main event of SummerSlam facing The Rock. Yes, this was supposed to propel him to new heights, but when you think about game changers, you can't talk about the King of the Ring as a pay-per-view without talking about Bret Hart's win. You can't talk about Owen Hart's career without the King of the Ring. You can't talk about Stone Cold's career without the 96 King of the Ring. And great. Well, yeah, he didn't really. It was like this was all coming. Again, a notch, but it was a waste. It was acceptable, but it was all coming, and he didn't wear the crown. He didn't embrace being like Kurt Angle, who's on the same level, embraced being King Kurt. So we're still getting the gimmick over. This wasn't. So we didn't see this for 2 years. I mean 4 years. But then, oh hell, King Booker. Obviously, game changer. Not only is this the Booker T, you could maybe say is the second greatest King of the Ring. From the gimmick change, obviously the him having Queen Charmel, they both embraced it. He embraced it fully, and then he would go on to become the world champion for a sixth time. So this was definitely a game changer. It was a game changer for him and his career. So now we move on, take a year off. Then we go to 2008. We got William Regal. William Regal was acceptable. He wore the crown, but what else do we remember? He beat CM Punk. At this point, it feels like William Regal's, he's on the roster, but I mean, he wasn't really selling tickets, That's what I'm going to say. So that's how I feel. 2010, we got Sheamus. I'm going to say Sheamus was great because this was another justification to lead us in to Sheamus main event run. And I think he definitely needed the King of the Ring to do it. So I'm putting this one in a great category. He picked up wins over um Kofi Kingston and John Morrison. Now, I do know he had been world champion, but sometimes you gotta like once you get out of that, it's easy to slip back to the mid card for some wrestlers. This help us keep Sheamus in the conversation. So that's the reason why I'm putting, Sheamus in King Sheamus. And again, embracing the gimmick. Now, 2015, Bad News Barrett. I gotta say, Bad News Barrett was great, man. My only wish was that he didn't get hurt. I think if Bad News Barrett, King Barrett doesn't get hurt, he's still able to go to new heights, and this would have eventually propelled him to a world championship. Unfortunately, he got hurt, so that's the reason why. But he got over the gimmick, and that's the big thing. Now we take 4 years off and then we go, it was a 5-year difference between Sheamus and Bad News Barrett. We take it 4 years off. Now we go into 2019. They're bringing back King of the Ring. Who's going to win, right? And it's King Corbin. Now, King Corbin, people may agree, they may disagree. King Corbin was great. Baron Corbin was somebody who was waiting. It was a lot of stuff I didn't connect with personally. I know he had some fans, some super fans, but I felt the King Corbin thing, he embraced it. And if you went to the live shows, he really they would say Corbin sucks. He really, really sucks. And then he would grab the mic. Corbin's good. He's really, really good. Stuff like that. So this is why I am categorizing this one as great. Now we go to 2021. This is the introduction of the king and the queen of the ring. So we're going to start with ladies first. And we're going with Queen Zelina. I'm going to say Queen Zelina was great. I thought she embraced it well. She was the perfect person at that time to win the tournament. This would eventually lead her to the tag team championship with Carmella. So shout out to Queen Zelina Vega. Yeah, I thought she was great. It was a great, you always going to remember the first one. So definitely thought she was great. Xavier Woods, I'm going to say he was great. The game changer for me would have been Xavier winning the world title. But we're in the Roman Reigns era. Nobody else was touching those titles. He did get a match. He did get the crown kicked, but he was in the main event spot. He was on TV with the Bloodline. So Xavier Woods was great. It was his dream. He realized it, and I thought he did a phenomenal job with it. Now we go to oh shoot. I realized Sheamus was I never moved it up. Oh no, I had two Sheamuses. Okay. Cool. All right. So now we go to last year. We got the Queen and the King of the Ring. It is official. The winner will get a championship match at SummerSlam. It's a Night of Champions. So now we have to put this crown on somebody that's going to make sense. And we're going to start with Nia Jax. Now, Nia Jax had been a world champion before, but then Nia kind of left. She came back with a new attitude, and she dominated all the way to becoming a game changer. That she would win the WWE Women's Championship from Bayley at SummerSlam. And she ain't take no prisoners, and she would hold on this title all the way through December. So Nia Jax. And then King Gunther, the ring general. Now, I'm going to say great because, again, Gunther had proven himself. Gunther had become Intercontinental champion for 666 days. He had been the NXT UK champion. Yes, this guaranteed him a title shot, but this was just like Kurt Angle, just a stepping stone. And he embraced the crown. We could have won a little bit longer. He embraced it a little bit, but this is a stepping stone to take him to the next title, the next level. So that's the reason why I am saying Gunther is great rather than a game changer. So, ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for this episode of Break It Down with Brian H. Thank you for everyone who's joined me on this journey. This show started in 2018 as just a podcast, and I'm very proud of everything that we've been able to do. It was every week. Obviously, you may know that the reason why it's not every week now is because simply we got the Wrestle Realm Now podcast. So you get me and the real Dwayne Allen, Brother Hugh and Brother Brandon. So there was, I could kind of do my own thing with this one as opposed it being a weekly show. But make sure y'all follow me on all social media platforms at Brian H. Waters. Be sure to tune in and get ready because episode 300 is coming up. And I promise you it'll be a good one. Until the next time, folks, I'm Brian H. Waters. So long, everybody.